So can you just talk us through like a little bit about your prenatal care in the US?
Yes.
And kind of, you can kind of compare a little bit to your experience in Turkey too.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like how did that go? How did you go about finding a doctor? What was that experience like?
Yeah. So I was thinking that when I found out I was pregnant and I'm here doing all the math of like, okay, when is she due? That's exciting to find that out. And then it's like, okay, she's going to be an October baby. And we're like,
Mhm.
okay, that's a tough time. Like, just for any basketball player, like,
Yeah.
just because that's the beginning of the season. And
Mhm.
so, and we just didn't know where he was going to be yet. So we just had to plan as if I was going to have the baby in the US.
Yeah.
And we just planned that way. And so that was my first experience then looking for care in the US versus being in a foreign country.
Mhm.
And I thought it was going to be so much easier because I was in the comfort of like my own home and everything. And when it came to, and the insurance we have like a hospital that we just go to. So it wasn't like a challenge. Well, actually it was, but okay. It wasn't like crazy, like trying to find a hospital, but it was like trying to
Yeah.
find a provider and like talk to doctors. And it was just like calling and I'm just on hold for, it seems like hours, but it's like, at least, 20, 30 minutes just trying to get a hold of someone. Hey, I just found out I'm pregnant. How far along are you? Like, no, like, hey, congratulations. Like, or whatever. It's just like, cause it's just,
Yeah.
they get high volume calls,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know. I remember I maybe called when I was 8 weeks, 10 weeks, something like that. Wait till you're 12 weeks and then call back. Wait till you're 12,
Mhm.
whatever. So I'm just like, okay. So anyway, I end up like finding a doctor at my hospital that I had, OHSU in Oregon, big hospital,
Mhm.
um, amazing hospital, but it's like it's a it's a residency hospital. So it's
Okay.
like they are like, they have people, they're like teaching while they're like, doing everything, all their appointments and everything.
Mhm.
So that was kind of one thing that was like a little like, hey, this, I'm going to have this like, assistant with me today. And can they do the work on you? And I'm going to be directing them type. I'm just like,
Yeah.
sure. Like I'd prefer
Yeah.
the doctor doing it, but like,
Yeah.
like all those things.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and I'm like, okay, so who's my doctor going to be? Like, how can I communicate with them and all that? They're like, well, it's just honestly who is on staff that day. And I'm like, okay, that sucks. So like, is there like a handful that I'll have? Like, we really just don't know. I'm like, okay, that's unfortunate, but like, okay. And then it was like every time I would have an appointment, it felt like I was like seeing a new person. Like I was like, and then having to reintroduce myself, re-explain everything. And it was just kind of like, wow, this like romance of having this like, baby is turned into just almost like not fun appointments. Like I actually had fun going to my doctor's appointments when I was in Turkey and like it was so
Mhm.
exciting and and that's another thing. In Europe, every country is a little bit different, but in Turkey, every single appointment you go to, you get an ultrasound, every
Yeah.
single one. So I was like literally looking at Araya every single time. And in the US, you only get like 2 or 3. So it was like I was like, so when are we going to do the ultrasound? They're like, oh, we don't do we don't do that. Like, I'm like, oh, that sucks. So I'm like, okay. So anyway, it kind of like ended up doing like, and it just, and Kyle at the time was in China still. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it was so, I was like really, I wasn't stressed about it. I was just like sad about it. Cause I was like, this is like
Yeah.
not the experience I thought I was going to have. And I've had friends in
Mhm.
the US, I've had a different experience because they have smaller hospitals and stuff, not
Yeah.
even smaller hospitals, but they're just insurance covers different. What our insurance covered was the big hospital that we just didn't really have a lot of options. And
Okay.
so Kyle was amazing. And he just got on the phone with his agent and was just, I don't know, trying to find all the different hospitals like near us that like just give us different options. And like, I
Yeah.
think I was maybe like 7 or 8 months pregnant and we found a new hospital to then where I had the same doctor every single time. The nurses were cool. And it was just like, again, having to just do a little bit more research, which I
Yeah.
just didn't think I had to do like from the jump because I felt like I was in the comfort of my home in the US and everything. But, like, after, like, switching over, then it became such a more beautiful experience because then it was, like, the last, like, few months of my pregnancy, I was actually able to have, like, the familiar faces and the nurses and the doctors that, like, I had recognized, and met multiple
Mhm.
times, and so it ended up being a great experience, but I still had to, like, do a little bit of research at the end to, like, to
Yes.
make that happen, so
Yeah, no, I think that's great, and again, like, what we were talking about before, you just have to do the research, if you're not feeling it and you're not comfortable with where you're at, like, there's so many options out there, and you just have to do a little bit of digging to find them?
yeah,
Um, and so I'm so glad that you did that, and I always, like, tell my clients too, it doesn't matter how far along you are either, like, you can
totally,
be a month away from delivering and still
right,
you need to find someone that you feel supported by, yeah, and it makes such a difference in your whole experience, like, with everything, the pregnancy and the birth, and so
yeah.
I'm glad that you were able to find that.